Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. I haven't actually filmed for 2 weeks. This is my first time back filming for 2 weeks, so I'm a little lost as to what I'm doing and what's going on. So I was going to say, you know, expect this video to be slightly chaotic, but I think if you didn't expect that, then this must be your first video here, because generally that's how it goes. So I thought to ease myself back in, I would just do some makeup, try some new products, try some old products, just get ready with you guys, have a little natter about some of these new products and how I'm liking them. So I've got the new palette from Natasha Denona, the Retro palette to try. I was sent a couple of iconic products from YSL that I wanted to give you my thoughts on. I've got the colour corrector from Nars, new liquid lipsticks from Dior, I've got new products from Ilia that I have never tried before, the bronzer, I've got the Bite Beauty mascara to finally try on camera with you, and the Nars Orgasm on the Beach palette, because I don't think I've used this on camera yet, have I? I probably have, I don't know what's going on already. It's chaotic already. So without further ado, let's start playing with some makeup and have a catch up, shall we? So as usual, starting off with the eyes and starting off with perhaps the most exciting bit of this video, or the most exciting product I'm going to be using today. It's untouched. I haven't even swatched it. I've just been busy with other things. I've just been dying to use it, but it's been school holidays. I haven't had the opportunity. So today we're going to do this together. We're going to get off the blocks together. I'm kind of wanting to dip into this shade first. I have no idea what any of these shades are actually going to look like on the lid, but this one is speaking to me. Well, that's why I like that. It looked much lighter in the pan, but it's got some pigmentation there, of course. Natasha's mattes are not to be laughed at. They're no laughing matter, in fact. Oh, this is a lovely transition shade, this one. Nude Mauve. I love that she's got like the shade names in here as well. I really like them printed on the palette. Makes my life a lot easier. Helps me tell you guys easier which shades I've used, rather than being like the bottom left or the third one across on the second row. This is better for everybody. Blending out beautifully. I never really expect issues with Natasha Denona palettes, although I have had some on odd occasion with the odd palette, or just some unexpected results, let's say. Like, I don't think many people were expecting like the Zendo palette to be kind of like a whole different kettle of fish to a lot of her palettes. So I'm going to use Andy next, this matte up here. This looks like it would be a good next shade to kind of blend. So that's actually lighter than Nude Mauve. In the pan, this one looks like the lightest shade, other than obviously this white, but actually this is lighter, so this is kind of not necessarily a mistake. We're going to go with it, we're fine. We're not going to panic. That's not what we're going to do. We're not here to panic today, guys. We're here to play with makeup and have a relaxing time, and you live and you learn, you know. I won't make that mistake next time. As I said, we are learning together today, so I didn't know that was going to happen, all right? So I'm going to try this shade down here to deepen up the crease a little. That's more like what I was going for. What's she doing? Do you know, I have obviously been doing makeup, but I haven't been doing makeup on camera, and I haven't been playing with new makeup. I've had 2 weeks since I last filmed of blissful family time. It's been our school summer holidays here in the UK. If you're not from the UK, we have a 6-week break, 6 glorious weeks all as a family together, although obviously working the majority of the time. But I took the last 2 weeks off, and my husband took the very last week off, so we had an amazing end to the summer holidays. Lots of you, if you follow me on Instagram, you know we went to Harry Potter World in the last week. It was just absolutely amazing. We surprised the kids. I didn't tell them where we were going. I told them we were going to a camera shop, because that would explain why I was bringing my camera, my like big proper camera with me. So I said, we're going to the camera shop, it's going to be a really boring day, but I'll find a shop to buy you something from to like make up for the boring day. Little did they know it wasn't going to be a boring day. That was amazing, but yeah, it's been super busy, so I haven't sat down and filmed for 2 whole weeks, so I'm a little confused as to what's going on. Now I know how you guys feel. So where do we go from here? This is the question. This is the question. I'm kind of tempted. Maybe I should, yeah, okay. Okay. I'm kind of tempted by this hello. It's saying hello. Hello. I mean, obviously you have to use it because it's asking, it's greeting us in that way. So I'm gonna put this on the outer kind of half of the eye because it basically told me to. Yes, that's perfect. That's what I'm looking for. I'm learning to sort of do a little swatch before I go into a shade here, because I think both Pat shadows and Natasha shadows can be misleading when you look at them in the pan. I think they can be a lot more, actually Charlotte Tilbury shadows kind of do that as well to me sometimes. Like I look at it in the pan and then I think the Charlotte Tilbury run much deeper than they look a lot of the time. When you look at it in the palette and you put it on your eye and I'm like, oh, okay, not what I was expecting. And that's kind of what happened to me today. Just a little bit out of practice, you know. So that's just kind of given me something nice to kind of transition from the outer V into Shimmer Town, into Lid Shade Transition Town. I do love these palettes, this size palette. It's just, it sits in your hand nicely. It's nice and light, easy to store. These are probably my favourite size of palette from Natasha. I just think they're just the perfect little size. Not too big, not taking up too much room, not too overwhelming as far as number of shades and things. So yeah, I'm a fan of the midi size, I'll say that. So yeah, I'm just going with hello. Hello, I'm just saying hello. This is weird as usual. Not massively impactful, that shimmer. It's kind of like a in between, not quite a satin, but not a metallic either, which you can kind of see in this palette. When you look at it, there are some sort of more muted or less impactful shimmers in here, and then you've got these that are clearly going to pack some punch. So I'm going to go with Glitz today for the other, because this looks like this is going to give me the shimmer that I'm craving. Brush isn't picking this up that nicely. It's picking it up very chunky. So these are definitely shadows that would probably be best with a finger, because the brush is picking it up a little crumbly, which actually is fine putting it on, but you could make a mess or just waste product. I'm kind of surprised that that's still quite muted, like it's not crazy metallic. It kind of looked in the pan like it was going to be, but it's still actually pretty soft. I wonder if Natasha's kind of going more down the like Zendo route these days with less blingy shimmer. Okay, so this is now the psychedelic shade, the other kind of more punchy looking metallic, and this one has a bit more about it as far as the shimmer. Definitely a more muted version, this, than like her Love palette. A lot of people were interested about the comparisons between this and Love, and this is like, to me, the older sister. You know, Love is like the fun, bright, colourful, super vibrant, younger one, and then this is like the more mature, sophisticated, muted, older sister. That's how I would describe them. It's a bit like what Divine Rose 1 is to Divine Rose 2, I feel. So let's whack some primer on. We'll come back to the eyes in a minute. I'm going to use this glorious little number from YSL. This is their Blur primer. It was sent to me in PR and I've never tried it, and I know it's like a super iconic primer, so I thought, well, got to give it a try, you know. I do generally stick to my Tatcha silk canvas, but I'm willing to try new things. It's very surprising. So I have used this a couple of times. I don't know if it's surprising to you, but it was surprising to me that the feel of it. It feels like an oil. Very thin, very like slippy, very water-like, but on the skin it feels like an oil, but then it does soak into the skin very, very quickly. It's very, very easy to go on top of skincare, and it's very, very easy under foundation. You're not going to get pilling and everything because it just really does soak in very nice and quickly. And so far I am enjoying it. It's nice. I don't prefer it to my Tatcha Silk Canvas. I just don't notice as much of an impact, as much of a difference when using this versus using my Touch Silk Canvas. The Silk Canvas gives me more smoothing. I feel like my foundation goes on more beautifully and the result is more beautiful and the wear is better. This one, it's nice, it's decent, doesn't cause me any issues, but I just don't notice as much of a difference. So let's whack some of this Bite mascara on. I have spoken about this, I know, in like a favourites video, but I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that I've used this on camera. Now this specific tube is actually getting on a bit now. It's in its later years. It's aged a good number of weeks, which was kind of the final thing that I like to find out about mascara, is how is it going to age? Is it going to improve with age, or is it going to decline quite rapidly from like the first use? That's a lot of mascaras that I've actually really enjoyed, but then I've just found after like 3 or 4 uses, they don't give me the same impact. Now this one does not fit into that category. So it wasn't like, oh, a week or 2 and it was done, but it definitely does not have the staying power of my Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk push-up lashes, or say the Mercier Big or the Pat McGrath mascaras. One of the things that sort of sets those apart for me is that they are like amazing from their first to their last use. And the Charlotte Tilbury one in particular lasts for months. Like it literally runs out before it goes bad. That one stays amazing for literally months until I feel like I just need to throw it away because of hygiene. Whereas this one, it's definitely, I mean, you can see I'm taking a long time to kind of get my lashes how I want, and it's definitely not performing now how it was when it was fresh. I'd say, I don't know if this is about a month old, maybe, this mascara. And because I have plenty of mascaras, it's not like a whole month that I've been using it either. You know, I sort of switch between 3 mascaras, I'd say, generally. So yeah, that for me was a little disappointing, and why it doesn't kind of top or trump those other mascaras, because it does look nice and it gives me the volume and the drama and the separation and the length and everything that I'm looking for. I love the look of it on the lashes, but I do wish it stayed great for longer. So for foundation, I was also sent the Touche Eclat foundation from YSL, and I have tried it a couple of times. Now, if you're an OG, if you've been around for a while, you'll know that last year, some year or another, I tried the Touche Eclat Le Teint Creme, which doesn't seem to exist anywhere anymore, and it was very confusing time. It was very briefly available on the YSL website and then disappeared, and it was only available in like 5 shades. Then it disappeared and was never like seen again, and no one really knew what was going on. I thought it was like a new version of this one, but yeah, it just disappeared and we don't know what happened. We can't guess, or I don't know anyway. Maybe you do, I don't know. So I don't know if that one is the same as this. I don't know. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is on the one that I had, it says Le Teint Creme, and this one doesn't say creme. So this is the usual one. It was reformulated a few years ago, wasn't it? This used to be like the holy grail of glowy, dewy foundations, and then they reformulated it, which I know lots of people are pretty angry about, because they definitely appear to have made it less dewy. Why? I don't really know what they were thinking, and herein lies the problem. A couple of you have asked me, since you saw me receive this foundation, how do I like it? How am I getting on with it? Am I enjoying it? How does it kind of line up, compare to some of my other faves, my Tom Ford, for example, the Cle De Peau, my kind of faves. I mean, do you see that, the forehead? Can you see that on camera? A little bit cakey, a little bit brush strokey. So here's the thing. I can definitely get this foundation on and looking really nice. Takes a little more work, we'll say that, than some of my favourites. Have to go over with a sponge and just sort out some of this like brush strokes, some of the heaviness. It just takes on a bit of a heavier looking quality. But yeah, I can get it on, I can get it looking nice, and it does wear well. But you can already see, and it's freshly applied, that it's not really got much glow, has it? Hasn't really got a lot of glow going on, and that's a sad time for me. I think the original would have been like much more up my street, so yeah, that's a damn shame. But does it give me a nice medium coverage? Do I like pretty much like the shade? This is BR50. Don't really typically like a BR shade, but it's fine. It definitely looks a little odd against my body. I don't think you'll be able to see it on camera as far as like the undertone, but in the mirror it's definitely a little off because I don't have a rosy undertone. But it's fine, I can balance it, we can make it work. But yeah, it tends to just kind of look a little not as smooth and plump and fresh as I would love it to. So yeah, it's okay. I've definitely had better. That's what she said. So moving on to the Nars Radiant Creamy Colour Corrector. Are you ready for magic? That's my question to you. So I do really like this. I'm not one to use things like colour correctors because I'm like as few steps as possible. That's my jam. That's how I operate. I don't want to do like an extra step. I want to find a concealer that's going to conceal without the need for a colour corrector. But for you guys, I'm willing to try this one out, and this is a great one. I really like the tiny little doe foot. That's the first thing. I'm just going to do one side so you can see the difference. I'm also willing to look bonkers for you guys, so don't say I never do anything for you. This is the medium shade, by the way. There's 3 shades, I believe. Is that one? 3, I think. Maybe 4. Who knows? So I just like to do a teensy weensy dabba-doo-dah right there where that darkness is. Now obviously you want to go over this with a concealer because otherwise you've got an orange under eye, and that could raise questions and alarms for some people that maybe an alien has infiltrated or something. So I would advise going over with a concealer. But do you see, wait a minute, we've got to zoom in, guys. Do you see the difference? Do you see it? Do you see it at all? I don't know. I see it. I definitely see a big difference. It's almost like I've put concealer, but it's only that colour corrector, which is, you know, pretty impressive, I feel. I definitely see a massive improvement, and this has helped me use some concealers that don't cover everything. So if you haven't found a concealer that covers all your darkness, you have really pronounced under eye darkness, I really like this. I don't find it messes with my concealer. I don't find that it's causing an issue. I don't feel like it breaks it apart. And in fact, it actually seemed to help the Lancome concealer perform better, which is pretty great. So let's use my usual concealer, my Pat McGrath concealer. So this is how long. I just literally leave it a sec before I go in with concealer. This Pat McGrath concealer doesn't really need much help. This kind of gives me as much coverage as I personally want or need. But yeah, when I've been using like the Lancome, which if you watch my review, it just doesn't quite give me the amount of coverage that I like. Whereas if I use it with the Nars Corrector underneath, then we get there, and it's acceptable. So yeah, I would recommend, if you are someone who likes a colour corrector, who gets the use out of one, it's a really good one. I don't really have much, I will say this, I don't have a lot of basis for comparison because I don't even remember using another one since I was like 13. I used to put that green stuff all over my face randomly, and no one really knows why. I would also say that this is like my worst. I don't know if it's normal to have like different eyes, different under eye situations, but this is like my worst one. Is that normal? Do you guys have a worse. I know it's normal to have like a better and a worse eyebrow. Definitely. This one, love this one. You are stupid. But I don't know if it's normal to have a better under eye. You tell me. Who knows what's normal? No such thing really. I definitely seem to have more darkness on this side, and I would say now with the corrector on this side only, they look the same, so I think that's a good sign. But yeah, for me, I just want my concealer to just cover everything and I don't have to bother with a corrector. You know, that's in an ideal world. Just gonna give that a little set with my banana powder from good old Pat. Pat has a sale on, if you weren't alerted to that fact. I did post it on my community page that Pat has her 25% off sale, which she always says is site-wide, but there's always an exclusion or two. So her new mothership is excluded, and I think the blushes as well, which are obviously doing very well for her, that she doesn't need to include them in the sale. Okay, so I'm going to have another little dabbity-do into this retro palette. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do a little bit of nude mauve and a little bit of, I don't know how to say this one, Amara? Smoke out the lower lash line. This is a great way to hide your under eye circles, bags, whatever you've got going on down there. Just paint over it. Okay, so for bronzer today, I'm going to be using the Ilia bronzer. Now, unfortunately, they did send me a shade that's a little light. This is Drawn In. I guess that's the name of the shade, I'm assuming. And it is just quite light for my skin tone. But for the sake of review purposes, it's fine. It's a little lighter than I would like personally for my bronzer shade. I would definitely go a shade up, but it certainly is good enough for me to see whether I like it or not, whether I like the formula as opposed to the colour. That's the only thing, is obviously I don't know what the undertones of the other colours are like, but this formula is lovely. It's very smooth. It is a matte bronzer as far as I can see. I don't see any luminosity or anything like that. It builds beautifully, a really lovely formula. Very smoothing and blurring, I find. Really, really lovely. Goes on beautifully. There's not a huge amount of kick up or anything like that in the pan. It's not dusty, which I like because I can not worry about going too ham with it. Although obviously when it's quite a natural shade for me, then you can kind of get away with a heavier hand. But yeah, it's very natural, very smooth, and a lovely nice finish. So yeah, I am a fan of the formula. I just wish I had a deeper shade so I could kind of tell you a bit more colour and undertone wise, because it is just a little too light. But you know, not exactly a big deal. Let's do another little coat of this mascara here. Who thought we were only going to do one today? Come on. It's really giving me a very therapeutic session today. I really needed to just sit down and play with makeup because I'm just feeling very sad. Missing my babies, worrying about them, how they're getting on with their new teacher, all that kind of stuff. I know lots of people there were genuinely people popping open champagne bottles at the school gates this morning. And I'm just the only weirdo who cries every year. I know it's very common to cry when your child starts school for the first time, but my kid's in year 3, my eldest, and my youngest is going from reception into year 1. And I still cry, and I'll probably cry every year. And I also cry on the last day, although I do blame the teachers for that because they always come out and they're really emotional and they cry, and I'm just that's catching for me. That is contagious, so that's not my fault. But I do also cry when we go into assemblies for awards, and I cry on sports day, and I also cry in the nativity play, and I also cried last year in the Harvest Festival, so it might be a me thing. But this morning, what really set me off was, one, we went into a normal playground with no spacing out, all the kids in the same place rather than us all being at different times and spaced 2 meters apart. We all went in together to the same place and no one was spaced out, and they rang the bell like the good old times, and they announced that they were going to be having their first all school assembly for 2 years, and that was me done for the day. Imagine crying over an assembly. Who would do that? So for blush and highlight, I'm going to whack this, I'm going to pull this bad boy out, this On the Beach, Orgasm On the Beach palette from Nars, because it's just really, quite frankly, been neglected on my channel because I think it arrived a little late. I think it was out earlier in the US, and so I didn't review it. And it's just not really been used enough. I think it came out along the same time as lots of other blush and highlight products like the Dior and things like that. So I need to get it back out and show you how glorious it is. This is one of the launches of the year for me. Love these types of palettes. Anyway, this one is special. I think this is probably my favourite of these from Nars. It might even beat out the Hot Fix palette, you know, because it's just, the highlight is just gorgeous and really natural. And obviously the blushes are stunning. For blush, I'm going to have a little dabbity-doo-dah into this orange shade because why not? You know, we're just clinging on to some semblance of summer here. You know, I refuse to believe that it's autumn because we really haven't had summer. Summer didn't really happen this year, so I refuse to believe that it's autumn already because that's we've missed a season. Okay, so it's still summer in my book and we're still doing peachy cheeks. Okay. Just let me live. This shade definitely takes a bit of building on me, but this is what I like about this palette is, you know, you've got something for fair skin, for a more medium skin, for deeper skin tones. You've got these two blush options. You've got the highlight option depending on what your skin tone is. I feel like everybody can get a lot of use out of this, which is great. This is what, if you're going to release one cheek palette, make it look like this, you know. Give us something to work with. You need to use that lighter shade in the inner corny doos, a little brow archeroos. Okay, we're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. We're moving on to lippies. So I talked about this on my Instagram stories. These are the Dior Rouge Forever Liquids, new lip formula from Dior. And I was sent a blister pack with my Boots order. Boots samples have really stepped up. They've really been giving us some, which is new. And I got a blister pack with like either 4 or 6, I forget, shades of this and a little brush, which is quite cute. And I had no intention of buying these. Liquid lipsticks don't really appeal to me. Didn't really feel like I needed them, but I thought, you know, it's here now, let's give them a try, and fell in love with them. They're beautiful. I love the colours. I'm going to use 200 today. I don't know the names because they stupidly give them names and then don't write them on the thing. So I have 100 and 200 and that's all I know about it. I mean, what's gone on here? I don't want to be lopsided. So this is shade 200, which is the one I just applied, and this is 100. These are the two shades I picked up. And here they are on the lippy doos. I mean, I do find, even though I made a complete hash of that, this is a bit of a deeper lip, obviously, so it's a bit more challenging. But I do find that the applicator for these is great. It doesn't pick up too much product and it's very precise as far as like the tip to get around all the lines and give you a nice crisp edge. But both the shades I picked up are gorgeous. This one is definitely very autumnal, I feel, and the lighter shade, which I think is called like Dior, wait, Dior Nude or something like that. Dior Nude, maybe. Forever Nude, maybe. It's one of those. And yeah, that one is like an everyday nude, easier to wear, goes with everything. This one's got a bit more depth to it. I wore one of these, I forget which, the lighter one, to the Harry Potter World day. And that was, let me tell you, that was a long day. A very long day. Left our house at 10 in the morning, got home at 8. So a long day, okay. There was drinking of butterbeers. There was all sorts going on. Masks on and off, on and off. It was a lot. It was also a really warm, sunny day. So yeah, there was a lot to deal with for a liquid lipstick. There was eating, there was drinking, there was merriment. Okay, so yeah, I have definitely tested these little lippies. Here's the verdict. They do dry down. They do dry down to like transfer proof. I mean, I've literally just freshly applied this and already there's barely any transfer. They will get completely transfer proof if I give it a moment, for crying out loud. So they will dry down. They're not like a liquid lipstick that's going to stay dried down, and therefore, you know, not be drying or anything like that. They will go to being transfer proof and long wearing. I reapplied as well several times just on top, and I feel like that's always like a disaster. If you're going to reapply a liquid lipstick, I think you should sort of take it off and reapply, because layering it seems to be a mistake a lot of the time. But these coped with that beautifully. Throughout the day, I just added a little, didn't even need a mirror, because I just felt like I could just apply to the center of my lips, do a smisheroo, and it was fine, and it looked gorgeous. Now, they are more drying than a bullet hydrating lipstick or a balm, a tinted balm, something like that. They are more drying. They are a matte liquid that dries down, so that don't expect them to be moisturizing and hydrating. They won't be, but they definitely are on the better side of that scale. They're not too drying. My lips weren't flaking off throughout the day or drying out or sore or anything like that. They weren't super hard to remove, didn't have to like scrub my lips to get it off, but they don't wear incredibly either. There was definitely some fading around the center of my mouth where I was eating and drinking, so they're not like the Chanel double tenue, is it? The double-ended ones that, I mean, you could go for a swim and who knows what else and it will look immaculate. They do fade from the center, or they did fade from the center of my lips throughout the day, but they reapplied easily, and they're certainly high up on my list of liquid lipstick formulas, maybe just below the Chanel double-ended one, which has got to be my fave. So let's chat through all of these products, starting off with the base products from YSL. This one is decent, but I do feel like there's better out there. I definitely prefer the Tatcha Silk Canvas. It just is okay. As far as a primer, doesn't fail me, doesn't let me down, doesn't cause any issues, but I also don't get a lot of payoff out of the product, if you know what I mean. The YSL Touche Eclat, it's okay. I've definitely got better foundations. I wish it was more glowy for my personal preference. It does wear very nicely. It has a nice amount of coverage. It can look a bit cakey or go a bit cakey on my skin, and it just doesn't have the luminosity and the fresh look that I love. It kind of looks like I've set it when I haven't, if you know what I mean. This colour corrector from Nars I think is amazing, and this is from someone who doesn't necessarily like or use that product. I think it's really, really good, and maybe has converted me to this type of product. I would try it again. I would try a different one again. I would try them again, if you know what I mean. What's happening? This bad boy from Natasha Denona. I think the colour story is always with Natasha's products. It inspires me and it makes me want to use it. I'm excited to use it again. I'm excited to get to know it a bit better. I am a little disappointed in these shimmers. I thought they were going to really be like the really impactful, punchy shimmers that we've seen from her before, but they do kind of fall more like on the Zendo shimmer. They're maybe a bit more shimmery than Zendo, but I think I still was expecting a bit more from the impact of those shades, because they really are the only really impactful shimmers in the palette, and I thought they were going to be super like, maybe I had too high expectations, we don't know, we can't imagine. That's just what my kind of initial thought is, but yeah, I will update you and keep you posted as to how I'm getting on with it. I kind of wish I'd used this shade today. That's that Hello shade. There's some glorious shades in here for sure. I'm going to enjoy getting to know it a bit better over the next few weeks and playing with it and using all the shades to give you my fully formed opinion. I will update you in a future video as to how I'm getting on with that one. So far, I mean, the mattes are blending like a dream, and the shimmers are also performing beautifully. I think I just was expecting, like, maybe I was expecting like Pat McGrath kind of shimmer, and that's really unfair because no one does that other than Pat McGrath. But yeah, it left me wanting like more, you know? I don't know if that's just me. The Ilia bronzer, I think the formula is lovely. The shade is kind of throwing me off. It's making me look a little grey just because the shade is not quite right. But formula wise, I really think this is very nice, smooth and natural. You guys know, or you already know how I feel about this one. It's gorgeous. Possibly my favourite one of these palettes from Nars like ever, because I just think it's got so many options and covers so many bases as far as highlights and blushes for all different skin tones. I think it's a really great one. The Bite Beauty mascara, so my final verdict on this one is I loved it initially, but it just didn't stay amazing. It started to dry out a bit too quick for my personal preference. I like my mascaras to stay good for, you know, I want to get my value for money. I want to get my money out of this. And this is what I feel like the difference between a lot of all the drugstore mascaras that I've tried versus the high-end mascaras that I've tried. The drugstore mascaras kind of stay good for like 2 to 3 weeks, whereas the high-end mascaras that I love, the Pat McGrath, the Charlotte Tilbury's, the Lancome Monsieur Bigs, they stay perfect for like 2 to 3 months. This one, I'd say it was like a month to 6 weeks before I started to lose the perfect performance it was giving me to begin with. So yeah, that for me is like the drawback of this one. It is quite easy to remove, which is a perk for it, but yeah, it's not going to break into my top 2 or 3 for that reason, because I would have to repurchase this now. And I've got a Charlotte Tilbury that I had before this and is still going very strongly. And as for these little bad boys, definitely a decent hit on the liquid lipstick scale for me. Not my favourite type of lipstick, but I don't find it crazy drying. They have now dried down and really don't leave any transfer at all, and it's comfortable, it feels comfortable, it doesn't feel drying yet. Decent long wearing, but yeah, you will need to reapply if you're eating and drinking. But yeah, I think the shades are really beautiful and it gives you a lovely crisp line. They don't suck all the life out of my lips, they dry down decently, but they are not giving me that really crusty, all your lines like times 1,000 type of liquid lip, but also at the same time, they aren't my favourite ever. I do think I prefer the Chanel, but the shade range is beautiful. I love the applicator and the process, and they look gorgeous. So they could be slightly better, but only just. So there you have it. I think we're caught up. I think these are all the products that I have neglected to tell you about during my little holiday. I hope you guys have been well and you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.